this is Lisa with Real Property Management Phoenix Valley. Today I'm going to be talking about evictions in the Phoenix marketplace. Although this isn't a pleasant topic for landlords, it is certainly something that a Phoenix landlord could come into contact and have to deal with. So one of the most important things about really the whole rental process, and if you do need an eviction, is to make sure that your lease agreement has very clear and concise terms. So you want to be sure you have a clear rent due date, that you have a clear grace period time frame for the tenant, what your late fees are going to be, who is paying the legal notice fee, and how much that legal notice fee is. So let's say on your lease agreement, the rent's due on the 1st and you give the tenant a 3-day grace period. So that means the morning of the 4th, that's when you're going to want to start charging your late fees. That's also when you're going to want to deliver your rent demand notice. So if you can deliver that notice via hand delivery, that gives the tenant an additional 5 days to pay the rent. If it is done through certified mail, that gives the tenant an additional 10 days to pay rent because the court allocates time for them to get the certified mailing. So at the end of the respective time period, if the tenant has not paid the rent, then you're going to want to go to the court in that jurisdiction and you're going to want to file all of your paperwork for the eviction. So you're going to want to make sure that you have your lease agreement, your 5-day rent demand notice, your proof of delivery, as well as a tenant ledger showing all the applicable charges. So once you file all that with the court, typically it takes around about a week for you to receive a court date. So that court date is going to be for what's called a pretrial. So the pretrial is a chance for you as well as the tenant to provide a small snippet of your case. Sometimes at pretrial, you are able to get judgment. I mean, if the tenant shows up and actually tells the truth that yes, in fact, they didn't pay rent, then a lot of times you can get judgment at pretrial. If, however, the tenant comes to court and they start pleading some sort of a case, the case could then be set for an actual trial, which means that it'll be, delayed out another week for you to actually go to a trial in front of a judge, and both sides will be able to plead their case. Once you get the judgment, you then have the court actually then gives the tenant an additional 5 days to be hopefully vacating the property. If they do not vacate the property at the end of that 5 days, then you go back to court and you file what's called a writ of restitution. So that will then get on the judge's desk and you are waiting for that to basically get signed off on. So we always recommend when you file the writ of restitution that you then follow up with the court a day or two later to confirm that either the judge has it or it's been signed off on. Once it's been signed off on, it then has to go to the constable. The constable, keep in mind, is a volunteer position. So once it gets to the constable, you're going to want to start calling that constable in an effort to arrange a time to meet at the property to do what's called the lockout. So the lockout is when basically you would be there, the constable would be there, your locksmith would be there. And this is what allows you to actually take legal possession of the property back if the tenants are still residing there. And you basically do that by, at that time, the constable would tell the tenants that they do need to vacate, and then you would be able to change the locks to essentially get the possession back. Now, do always caution that if you get judgment at trial, the tenants do have the option to appeal the judgment. But if they appeal the judgment, they have to put money down at the court. So it's something that's very rarely done, but we do always caution about that. Luckily, the Phoenix metro area is a pretty friendly landlord state, especially as compared to California, some of the states on the East Coast. So it can take here, we say on average, if you do have to go with the full lockout, about 30 days from start to end. So a couple key things just to remember is start yourself off well in the beginning with a well-defined lease agreement. Make sure you are somewhere tracking tenant charges so that if you do end up having to go to eviction, you have a full tenant ledger. Thanks very much. We hope you have a great December and we'll see you back here in January.